Opening license is ANS meeting number 4. So should we just decide the rules?
Yeah. Any more?
I think I'll be the 40s.
Do you know again?
I'll be bored now.
Nothing.
I'll help you out if you need me. So do you want to go first then with your favourite?
Yeah, just find
Fine, the laptop. Should we all act as moderators because then we can all give you feedback?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Are you going to properly read it out?
Can I just stand up?
I think you could just because it's proper class, isn't it? You know. I think it's better.
Great. Good on.
Or what?
Your Honour, my name is Peter Telford and I am here representing Mr. David Adams for his plea of investigation in reference to the charges of criminal damage to a taxi window and the verbal assault of a police officer. To begin, Your Honour, I would like to declare how my client truly regrets his actions and is aware of the seriousness of his actions and has accepted full responsibility.
Would Your Honour like to be reminded of the fact of the case?
Mr. Adams went out drinking in order to celebrate a friend's birthday. At around 1:30 a.m. the group finished drinking for the evening and my client waved a taxi displaying the "For Hire" sign. Upon pulling over, Mr. Black and Miss Brown attempted to get in the taxi which they thought they had ordered. A dispute took place between Mr. Adams and Mr. Black, by which time the taxi driver had said that he had not been booked by Mrs. Brown and that she then proceeded to enter the taxi. Mr. Black then followed. Mr. Adams banged on the taxi window, upon which it cracked, and this was followed by abusive language directed at the couple. PC's Brain and PC Griffin arrived and warned Mr. Adams about his language, to which he responded with more abusive language. At this point, Mr. Adams was arrested. I shall continue with the issues I wish to raise, if it pleases Your Honour. I have split my statement into 3 stages today. Firstly, Mr. Adams has clearly damaged a window belonging to another and has cracked requiring repair. It is stated under Section 1 of the Criminal Damage Act 1971 that any person who without lawful excuse destroys or damages any property belonging to another is guilty of an offence. Under Section 4 of the Criminal Damage Act, the offence can be punishable for up to 10 years imprisonment. Clearly my client was representing his actions and accepts this. The fee for replacing the window is £150. I believe this month that my client should therefore not face incarceration as the damage caused was only minor. To add to this, Mr. Black did nothing but aggravate the situation, as instead of sorting out verbally, he jumped into the taxi and locked the door. This only angered an already disgruntled and intoxicated Mr. Adams, who in his drunken state lashed out at the window. He accepted responsibility for the damage, but clearly this would not have happened had Mr. Black not jumped into the taxi, against the words of the taxi driver. My client has had no previous criminal damage convictions, has already stated that he will pay for the damage he has caused and wants to put the whole situation behind him, whilst in the meantime attends some anger management sessions. Secondly, under Section 5, subsection 1 of the Public Order Act 1996, my client used threatening, abusive or insulting words or behaviour or disorderly behaviour within the hearing or sight of a person likely to be cause harassment, alarm, distress. He is liable for harassment, alarm or distress. He was then arrested by a police constable under Section 5, subsection 4 for continuing to act in this manner. I believe this to be a rather petty and frivolous crime with regards to the situation. This language used by my client was vulgar, however, on a night out, especially after midnight, these words are frequently and ignored to the same degree of effect. Therefore, I see no real reason why anybody would feel harassment, alarm or distress when somebody mentions them in relation to section 5, subsection 4. Again, it's fairly needless, but in the context of, in the heat of the moment, these things are said without recognition or intent. My client is truly regretful of his actions, and I believe that he should receive a small fine as a result. As the crime is a level 3 on the standard scale, which is set out on section 37, subsection 2 of the Criminal Justice Act 1982. Fine may not exceed £1,000, and I would hope that rather you would be set at a lower level fine as opposed to the full £1,000. My client is a valued member of the community of Bourneville and as of today is in occupation as a call centre operator, a job devoted to those seeking help and is there to normally resolve situations. This shows that the events that took place on the night were completely not on formal how Mr. Adams usually conducts himself. To add to this, he lives alone with his mother, a single parent, and pays like £50 a week to board. His mother needs the money to keep up with bills and shopping, and restricting her of this and incarcerating her son could cause so small. Incarcerating her son could cause her more depression. My client earns £300 a week, and on top of the £50 he pays to his mother, he has regular payments of £60 for credit. This leaves him with £190 disposable income. I believe the best solution for this whole situation is for Mr. Adams to pay a low level fine, as he realises and accepts that he was irresponsible on the night and could afford to pay fines set by the court. He had paid off a £200 fine for shoplifting 10 months prior to this, so is well capable of doing the same this time around for around the same amount. The client has been cooperative throughout the whole hearing and taking positive measures to fix his aggressive impulses. With that in mind, Your Honour, I hope you will be lenient with the sentencing of my client and offer him to pay a too low level fine, which my client will abide by to settle the debts of society and also to have their conditional discharge.
Thank you very much. Any questions? I'd say that it's, I don't know how long it gets, I don't know how long it gets. You just follow your own fine.
I think it's 5 minutes. Yeah, because it was 4 people to days.
Oh, so it's slightly over 5 minutes. Yeah, you'd want to make 5 minutes.
I'd say like I think your content was good. I think what you were saying was good, and I liked how like, obviously you made points and sentences that you thought were good for it, but obviously you weren't obviously like in characters, so to speak. Because probably because of the situation you're in. That would be the only thing I'd say to improve. But I like your content stuff.
Yeah, your content's really good, the structure's good, and just focus on that language.
And I wouldn't use your laptop either, because like you're just standing there like looking down.
Yeah.
I couldn't even read it.
But at least you like know that for the actual thing.
I think it's better to get it printed off.
Yeah.
But it was good. I like.
Yeah.
But keep the content and keep the ways, because you made some really good points. Maybe trim some things down if you can. And yeah, it was literally just your presentation for the only thing that I could do. So it's good. Who wants to go next? You want to go
I
next?
was going to have to sit down because
You have to sit down.
falling. Yeah, I can't read it.
Who wants
I
to
can read it just about now.
Just remember, I got a couple months on top of my belt.
So the real thing you got it.
Yeah,
Who wants to be magistrate?
and introduce.
Okay, let me find it. Bear with me. Sorry. No, it's fine. It's fine. We'll sort it. Minute.
I've got him as well. Found it?
sorry, I'm trying to look through it. I'm sure we did that one. I'm not sure record.
That was the first.
Yeah.
First one.
That was the name.
Ah, right, yeah, no, I found it. Found it.
You got that right.
Yeah, but I as well.
Go for it. Should I ask the charging magistrate?
Not you should be.
Alright, when we
Worship and repent and I live for you in order to present a clean integration of my client and sickness of items. My client has been charged with criminal damage and accident over the filing of the punishment claim under Section 5 of the Public Order Act 1986. The worship may indicate to you They indicate to the court that my client truly understands the seriousness of this matter and has accepted that he is fully responsible for his actions. However, I seek leniency from the court as it considers my client's sentencing. Would your worship care to be reminded of the case now? Last Friday, Mr. Adams went out drinking in order to celebrate his friend's birthday. At 1:30, the group departed and Mr. Adams waved the taxi statements for a hire sign. Upon pulling over, Mr. Black and Mrs. Brown attempted to get into the taxi. A dispute took place between Mr. Adams and Mr. Black. Mr. Brown had already entered the taxi. Mr. Black then followed. Mr. Adams proceeded to bang on the taxi window, upon which it was damaged, followed by abusive language directed at Pepperell. Police arrived, cautioning Mr. Adams about his language, to which he responded with more abusive language. At this point, Mr. Adams was arrested. I shall hereby raise issues that I wish your worship to consider. Under Section 4 of the Criminal Law Act 1971, Mr. Adams should be liable to a maximum of 3 months indictment or fine not exceeding £1 prerequisite causing minor damage under £100. However, my client was at the time under the influence of alcohol and I think has heavily contributed to his momentary loss of temper. Mr. Adams has had no previous criminal damage convictions and has had no convictions in relation to hostile behaviour in public. Although indictment is provided as a means of punishment for offences caused under the Criminal Damage Act, I feel that this will be out of proportion to the acts of Mr. Adams. I believe it would be more beneficial to allow Mr. Adams to redeem himself as opposed to the provision of a sentence for using his behaviour as an aberration that will not occur again. My client is willing to pay the aforementioned value of the damage caused and will also be willing to attend additional anger management courses to ensure that an embarrassing mishap as such does not reoccur. With an income of £300 a week, from which my client has continuously calculated for £110, the provision of a low-level fine would prevent my client from engaging in activities which will encourage and influence his previous offence, resulting in lack of ability to find himself in the positions that he has done so previously. Following this, it also appears that Mr. Adams' mother, whom he lives with, is also dependent on his income. Incarcerating Mr. Adams may prove not only financial burden for his mother, and the additional stress provided from the indictment of her son. With regards to the charge under Section 5 of the Public Order Act 1986, as a summary conviction, it is understood that Mr. Adams should not receive a fine exceeding level 3 in the standard scale, Section 37, subsection 2 of the Criminal Justice Act 1982. Again, as a result stemming from Mr. Adams' intake of alcohol and momentary loss of temper, these factors attributed to provocation of fines to back. I seek that you view Mr. Adams' behaviour and abusive comments towards the police officers again as an aberration, and that under ordinary circumstances my client would not have taken such an approach. My client is aware that he may receive a fine of £1,000 for his actions, which he is again deeply remorseful for. However, if your worship is to consider a lower level fine, I feel my client would hope better whilst also being able to maintain his family commitments. My client was served with a low level fine of £200 for the previous conviction of theft, which he was able to pay. He maintains a steady job with a weekly income, which he is able to utilise effectively, demonstrating good financial standing and providing little reason to doubt his ability to pay a local fine. The reflection of compromises and additional lengths my client is willing to go to in terms of willingness to cooperate with the court, taking corrective steps and positive measures to ameliorate his behaviour, as well as consideration of my client's age and social standing, I ask your worship to take the legal view of the offences that my client has committed, providing 2 low-level fines which Mr. Adams will be able to review and effective responsibility.
Your words you can do really good. It just something you need to slow down really fast. It's like, it's good that you're getting it done within the time, but then it might be a bit hard.
I know that, I will slow it down and
Definitely, I think
just try to get through it by. in
Yeah.
practice.
Make sure you're
It's
not
like
just
we get
reading.
used to like the words,
Yeah.
and like not words, but like how we've written it.
Yeah, but
first.
you've written it very well. It's very well written.
Make sure you like memorize the dict. You do like practice and reading.
Oh yeah,
First
we've
have
got a while
the
yet to
conversation.
do that.
And I thought that was very good.
That's it. I don't keep an eye on it.
I was liking like the character you went to, like the voice that you almost put on. It's like,
Yeah, it's
quite-
very
It's so not fun.
yeah, I
You
like
don't
it.
sound like a professional. Ella.
Shut
I like it. And I like the point like you both made the point about how his mother needs the money. Like I haven't got that point. But I think I need to put it in you.
Yeah,
So I like it.
that in
Yeah.
schools, that'd be really
I
good.
like that.
That will slow down.
And the hair.
Yeah.
Distracting behaviour.
Oh yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you-
I know, but it's not like we're
Yeah, but-
actually doing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But
So
I suppose if you start practicing from now, then
Yeah.
yeah.
okay.
I think we're just using it more as how does it sound kind of thing.
But they
rather
do
than-
say that you can use hand gestures, but
Yeah.
but they have to be
Appropriate.
beforehand. Yeah, not.
Like, I wouldn't stand there like that, like when I was
Yeah.
actually doing it, like
Yeah.
hi.
I know, I was doing the same thing for everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know,
so-
but I wouldn't do that actually in.
So I think it's just using appropriate hand gestures.
I don't think I do. I don't know anything. I just
That's fine.
Do you want to go shower?
We have David Adams again.
David
No,
Adams.
no, no,
Yeah.
I'll get on.
News pics.
Okay, but we don't need the.
Otherwise, a little bit.
We don't need to.
Are you punch right?
Yeah, I could do that.
We don't need to do a question on that's in case of this one.
I'm sure.
But I've just thought as well, you know you two both have put it back to the case.
No.
I haven't, so that's another thing I understand.
Okay.
So I need to do that.
If I ask them, as your majesty.
I could give you them.
Okay.
So that's,
For the purposes of this,
you want to ask? That's what I was yeah, but I can't. So that's something that I know that I've now got to put in.
Yeah. So we don't.
So we just didn't, I'm not going
No,
to ask.
I'll just say no.
Good, yeah. Good morning, Your Honour. My name is Miles, and I'm acting on behalf of the defence of Mr. Adams. Would Your Worship like a summary of the facts of the case?
No, I'm very well aware of that.
The first point I wish to bring to your attention, Your Honour, is the complication that Mr. Adams endured during this case. He legitimately flagged down a taxi that was displaying before hire sign, and before my client got in, people came along and started disputing with Mr. Adams that he booked this taxi and it was theirs. Although I would like to mention that the taxi driver has stated that he was available for hire and not being booked. Therefore, as it was seen, Mr. Adams was well within his rights and I presume was going to be this taxi. Before my client could enter this taxi, Mr. Brown jumped into it and our partner soon followed. This provoked my client to a stage of anger. He had legitimately got a taxi, and before he had a chance to use it, it was taken away from him. It was 1:30 in the morning and my client had been drinking. He just wanted to get home. I do not agree with my client's behaviour in the situation, but I do think it is reasonable and perhaps not out of the ordinary the way in which he reacted. My client's current circumstances are rather positive. He's employed, something which a lot of people his age are not. But he also wants a reasonable wage. Any hefty sentence here could affect that and his future prospects too, which is something he must bear in mind when sentencing. I would also like to mention that he has perhaps been caught up in the wrong crowd in the past. One of his previous offences was for being allowed to be carried in a stolen car, something which was, I believe, peer-related and maybe due to peer pressure. May I suggest the same could have occurred in this incident, as he wanted to show peers that he wasn't going to allow someone else to take his taxi and get away with it. It does now appear, however, he is starting to distance himself from that crowd, as like I say, he has a steady job and he's moving on the line. This type of offence committed by my client is a one-off, it isn't a serial offender. He hasn't done anything like this before, and he already realises his mistake in this situation. So a hefty sentence is given here, because it might cause Mr. Adams to rebel and go on and commit a worse crime. Again, a hefty sentence may have an adverse on Mr. Adams' financial situation, because he's making regular credit payments and will need to continue with this. If he is unable to do so because he has no money left over due to a hefty sentence from himself, then it might have huge implications on his financial situation, not just now, but in the future too. May I suggest your worship sentences, which I believe to be reasonable for my client. With the offence of criminal damage, I believe he should be given a Band B fine. This would therefore be equivalent to around about £150, which would cover the cost of the broken window and the compensation involved to the driver. Any more than this would hurt my client's financial level to an unfair level. In relation to the offence regarding Section 5 of the Public Order Act 1986, I believe my client should have a conditional discharge. I say this, Your Honour, because it is of the lower scale of the offence, and it was only for a brief time. This was a minor incident that was quickly and easily dealt with. The conditions I would suggest for this would be that Miss Adams stays crime-free for a period of a year, and must also pay the fine that I laid out to you for the other offence. This concludes my plea, Your Honour. Do you have any further questions on police history?
I'm really going to do that.
I mean, if you, like we have said, like, get some big facts in there.
So you don't.
I think.
But when you've done it before, like, generally then you can
I need to write down a little more.
just think.
It's
yeah,
worth
like,
asking,
just
isn't
have
it?
like bullet
Yeah,
points, like you do.
I think also, I know that for the, like here you had you've not stuck right here. You just put them down on the table or something. Because you were sort of doing the sort of side of this hand and the side of your body.
It's like distracting.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to be the same ball in the same ball.
But I do
Just look at it. Maybe
yeah.
if you could like record yourself doing it, so you don't have to do it.
I think a lot of it is like
Yeah.
actually doing it, we're a bit more like relaxed about it, like you know that you'd be aware of doing it.
Well, just something so that.
To be fair, I did probably have my too close in mind, so I couldn't project my voice as much as I should have.
I think what you should do is you should just get reminders because I think it was several people that were saying that it's just if you invest it on the side, it's professional and you need to refer back to it. It's an option to refer back to it. So I think maybe that's the best way to do it because then that way it's not what bits of paper, in your face. Or even if you learn it quite well, you can get like cute bugs or something like that. There's a lot.
Well, yeah, we usually go there.
It's include the facts and
Probably
the money to affect
Yeah.
What did you think about this?
I thought it was better than more.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
think
slow it
a
down a little bit,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think because I think the thing is, if you take a bit more of a relaxed approach,
Yeah.
because you know Martell, that's what I got criticized on. You put the same thing that in my feedback said that I had spoken too fast because I was speaking too fast, I was projecting myself clearly. So I think that's something that I think everybody should just
I think that's wrong to get into.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It's a bit cool. I mean, we're all good friends, yeah.
Being a magistrate, even with the
Oh, I don't know how to do it.
Ella.
Oh no, don't make me do it. What do I say?
Just like proceed. That's all you say.
Please proceed.
Oh, we'll have to change them. I've got your worship, so it's madam.
You still use, can't you still use your worship?
Just imagine it.
Yeah, just imagine it's a bloke if you want to.
I think that's why you can still use your worship.
I thought it was like madam. Madam and it's woman.
Your lady, no.
Yeah, ladyship.
That's more rude. What you do?
I reckon you still use it, but it's still out.
Just use worship.
I'll just use worship for now and then.
Just find out who you've got on the day.
Yeah. So your worship may everything. I appear on behalf of my client, Ms. Betsy Woodman, who is pleading guilty and has been charged under the Criminal Damage Act, Section 1 of the Criminal Damage Act of 1971. I put to you that there are some mitigating factors that ought to be considered when sentencing. My client is extremely apologetic for her actions and for this reason plans to plead guilty. I understand that the maximum sentence for this offence is a level 4 fine or 3 months imprisonment. However, I am here today to request this to be reduced to medium or to a high level community order. I urge your worship not to consider a custodial sentence as this will strongly affect Ms. Rummel as well as her family. Ms. Rummel has a very strong family bond and plays a large part in the family and therefore we will eventually want to sentence her. Would your worship like to be professional and class in case? My client is Betsy Rummel, free hunting dogs kept in the barn and Velvet on its land. As well as freeing the dog, she also caused criminal damage to the kennel reducing interactive. I would like to present to you 3 submissions regarding the case. May I have your worship's permission to present my 3 submissions? My first submission relates to the offence, my second submission relates to my client, and my third submission relates to my client's previous convictions. If it please your worship, may I begin with my first submission? Your Worship, aggravating or mitigation factors need to be taken into consideration when sentencing. I would firstly like to mention that the land that my client owns is her father's land and was therefore on that land legally. I understand that Ms. Cromwell has committed the act of criminal damage. However, I do not think that it is evident has committed the act of criminal damage. However, I do think that it is evident that she has a love for animals and is being complete. Yes, she has caused damage. However, looking at her actions, her aim was simply to save life. I feel that this should be taken into consideration, as she wasn't simply damaging property for self-pleasure or fun. It was to save the lives of an animal whose life is no less sacred than any other life. Therefore, I do feel that when looking at Ms. Cromwell's circumstances, this needs to be taken into consideration. Your Worship, may I proceed with my second submission? Ms. Cromwell is a key member in her family, and if she was sentenced, this would strongly affect her family as well as her. She played a vital part in her parents' relationship as they do not get along, so she tries to act as a mutual peacemaker between the two. I'd also like to mention that my client is an extremely talented individual, as she has published several good literary journals and has a good reputation within the writing field. She is unemployed and therefore is trying to get somewhere in life, and maybe through her skill at writing she may be able to create a career for herself. I think that it would be an awful shame to sentence and isolate her away from making a future for herself. I'd also like to mention that the aim of the system is to rehabilitate and not to punish, and therefore she was sentenced. This to mandatory community hours, I'm sure that this would make my client realise her mistake and the consequences of repeating such actions. Your Worship, once again, I'd like to mention that my client is extremely apologetic for her actions and particularly for the capacity for people shows she is ashamed of her actions. Your Worship, with your permission, may I move on to my final submission? My client does have two previous convictions. The first conviction was 2 years ago, which was relating to assault. My client was fined £150 for this. The second submission was for, the second offence was for criminal damage, in which she was conditionally discharged for 2 years. I do understand that she does have a previous conviction for criminal damage. Yet again, this has occurred. However, it was again relating to an offence for animal cruelty, which again is something that my client feels particularly strong about due to her love for animals. I request your Worship to give my client one more chance to gain a lower sentence, as I feel that this time my client is genuinely ashamed of her actions. I also feel that as a system we could help her gain counselling to inform her anger against animal cruelty. I therefore request your Worship to take into consideration my plea and grant my client a lesser sentence, which is to either a medium to a high level community order. I am now happy to rest in the questions of the
Right, you've got what sounds like a really hard
Covered
case.
everything, like.
You've got a hard case, and I think you've done well in concentrating on like more on a personal life.
Yeah.
Because obviously, because it's such a hard case, you don't
Yeah.
want to talk about what actually happened. because
Exactly, because I was
you don't
really,
wanna highlight
I
it,
was
do
really
you?
struggling with the last one, and not only that, her previous convictions are related to criminal damage, which is again what she's done on and
Yeah.
again. So it was really difficult, but I just
I think
thought,
we've got
Yeah, the way you said
content. I think like I'd say, if you could highlight, you know how she's done her journals or her literature,
Yeah.
whatever before, like maybe you could say a sentence that fits around that helps her, because like she could concentrate on that rather than doing her own whatever.
Yeah, maybe,
But
yeah.
I don't know how that would fit, but I think you've done well with your
I think what I liked about it was whenever you made like a mistake, like with me it's me skip, said it right, where with
Yeah.
you it was
carry on.
carried on with you further than what was
Mm.
from to
because I found that really difficult in my bail, because I did something I said was wrong, and that's what he said to me about feedback, so I think I'm trying to really
Yeah.
learn from that and try to change it.
I think you're definitely confident as well,
Yeah.
like, and you know you're saying now your pace was maybe a bit too quick.
Yeah.
I think this one's fine.
Oh,
I
is
really
it
understood
okay?
it all perfectly.
So you know what you've written.
You got your point across.
That's it. Yeah, it's just because I don't want to be speaking too fast, you know, I don't want to make the same kind of feedback. That's fine. What we'll do is I think we'll go over it another time soon, and we'll call the actual assessment.
Yeah, going back to
Yeah.
what improvements we've got.
Improvement. So what we'll do is we'll go away now, we'll make the improvements, and then we'll come back and then we'll do like the session where we're performing the guys and going through it, and maybe we'll have a go at maybe learning that by heart.
Yeah.
That's fine. Well, we'll just message in the group then, yeah, when we're going to have a go. But well done, guys.
Yeah, and you.
Thank you for working with it.